the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
This is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is an AVNation special, one-on-one with Steve Durkee. It's Tim Albright with an AVNation special. Just actually today, we're recording this on Monday, May 18th. Steve Durkee has been promoted to the President of Legrand AV. And today is his first day on the job. So welcome, Mr. Durkee and Mr. President. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. Thanks for taking time on what is officially your first day. Scott Gill, his last official day as president was this past Friday. But you've been doing this first of all, you and Scott kind of evolved together at Chief first and then Milestone and now Legrand AV. He's walking away, but you've been kind of transitioning into this role for a little bit now.
Yeah, so Scott and I actually started together 2 weeks apart from each other back in 2004 when it was just the Chief business. So at the time, it seemed like you planned for 3 or 4 years or 5 years, and that seemed like a long window. That it's now 16 years later, so it's been quite the evolution. But we've been through a lot during those time periods and worked alongside each other. I worked for Scott for most of that, but we really worked together managing our business and evolving it from Chief to the Sanus brand coming with, and then Daylight and Bodio, and then becoming part of Legrand. And there's obviously more to that story. But and then Scott early this year decided that it was the right time for his next chapter and phase. And so we started talking about this before any of us could envision the COVID impact and all the things that were going to happen, and started that process. It made for somewhat of an interesting transition time period, but we started working through that transition at that point. But since we've been working alongside each other and with each other for so long that you could argue that we've been working on transition for a number of years, but we did the formal part in the last 12 weeks or so, starting before COVID hit, and obviously working through the COVID situation as well.
Well, let's tackle that real quickly before we move on. How is that transitioning during a period of crisis, right? Regardless of what that crisis is, transitioning during a time like this where I would probably argue that the majority of Legrand AV employees are probably working remotely, working from home, but you taking over as president now during a time of crisis.
Well, it's interesting because there's a piece of it that's very challenging, which is just the bandwidth of the number of new things everybody's working on. And that's just not for Legrand, but all of us are managing through the COVID challenges. So there's a lot of activity and actions that makes it really busy. So that can be challenging. But there's a piece of it that actually is a little bit helpful, which is there's a lot more daily, weekly communication to all of our associates around the world, and being able to plug into that very quickly sort of helps you plug into your job quickly. You step into that and communicate frequently, often, talking with team members, trying to keep everybody connected from working from home and working remotely. And that's been I'd say it's actually helpful to speed the transition a bit, even though the day-to-day activity gets pretty busy.
Let's talk about leadership styles. You mentioned the fact that you and Scott have worked together since 2004. You and a number of existing top managers at Legrand AV have kind of grown up together. I'm reminded of Lori Englert, who's been with you for a long time as well. Fantastic leader as well. Talk for a second about your leadership style, Scott's leadership style. What's similar, but also what's different?
I think there's a lot, obviously, since we've worked together so long, there's a lot that's very similar. We've got a shared passion for the culture of our business, the people that build the foundation, the innovation, customer service. We would probably say a lot of the same things if you ask us what makes Legrand AV tick and what's been consistent about our cultures and brands. From a day-to-day style perspective, I think the primary difference probably is what we've been focused on for that time period. Scott and I sort of described it, we divided and conquered. So I spent a lot of time, especially in the commercial market, on the customer-facing side, the product innovation side. Scott worked on our residential side a bit more, on the operations, on our overall ownership structure and acquisition. So we've had just a little bit more, it's less of a style difference and just more of a focus difference. So I think for a lot of us, we expect a lot to be the same. So we're going to I like to look at changes like this as an opportunity, though, to rethink some of the things we do. And so it won't necessarily be a difference in style, but I think there's some opportunities to bring some further alignment across our. We brought a lot of brands together in the last, well, if you think of the last 16 years, but even in the last 4 years, a lot of brands have come together. And so this is an opportunity with this structure change with my role to sort of align us even further. And I think that's an opportunity both Scott and I talked about. So style, not as much, but I think some of the opportunities to focus will be a little different going forward.
And you mentioned alignment. You look at the Legrand AV's presence at various trade shows. You and I were together at ISE back in February. You look at the number of folks, a number of brands in there. You guys have done a really good job of kind of aligning everybody and bringing them together.
Yeah, and I think one of the things after going through a lot of integrations of brands over the years, foundationally, culture is really what you have to bring together. And I think what you see in Legrand AV today is hopefully the best of all the cultures that have come together during those time periods. And when you have teams that are focused on helping our customers be successful and innovation, you can use those underlying characteristics to bring the teams together, and it's actually gone really well. For us, everybody just like it to go faster, get on the same systems, enable us to provide, even simpler interfaces and business relationships. And so it takes time, unfortunately, to get all those things to work together, but the people have all come together even much faster than the systems.
All right, let's talk a sec about your leadership style and where you hope. I guess the best way to ask this is where do you hope to leave your mark, right? Steve Durkee is not Scott Gill, right? Yes, you guys have kind of grown up together, but where do you want to say, what, this is where Steve Durkee made a difference?
I think the way we've described it internally is well, Scott was here. He built this incredible foundation of Legrand AV, and it goes back to the brands and the people and all those things. But we have, real opportunities to deliver significantly more value when we complete the integration of those brands. And I'm really excited about being able to do that, is take that to the next step with regards to, simple things like being simple to do business with. And give you an example would be just the hours of service that are available from our different brands. It's still different by the different brands, but I see an opportunity to have that be the same across all of them. And our systems come together, be able to go into one location and check on all of your different brands. And then, ultimately, and actually it's starting, which is create solutions. And that's a little cliche. Everybody's been talking about it for years, but I really believe in our ability to deliver solutions and make that process and that value we add better for our customers. And that's what I see ahead of us for the next few years, is being able to deliver on that promise. And I'm excited about being able to help do that.
If you wanted to give some advice to somebody starting out or evolving themselves throughout their career, looking at you as the new president of Legrand AV, look back 16 years and give Steve Durkee from 2004 a piece of advice.
I think the piece that I would look back and tell myself to learn sooner, because I came out of a little bigger organization before I got to Legrand, or at that time Chief. And we really learned over the years how to know when to put in the processes to be a big business and know when to just be a small one. And that's okay. And when you come in, you're like, okay, we can see the growth, and you start to get aggressive on let's move this business forward. But there's times to just take advantage of the characteristics of a small business. And it took a little while to learn that. In addition, I think I came out of a different business that had a very specific culture. And that was good. It worked great for that business. But when we brought together these different brands, you've just seen some really smart people with different styles and cultures and capabilities. So taking advantage of that faster would have been another piece of advice that I would have given myself back then. I also would tell you, though, that, and I've said this before, that you've got to find an industry you really love. And, we've talked about this, and people tend to stay in the AV business. You're sort of here for life when you get it, but yep. It is find a business you really love. And it turns out, I really do love the AV business and the people and the customers and our teams and so forth. And when you find that's the key to success, I think, for anybody in any industry.
Absolutely. All right, Steve Durkee, again, congratulations, sir, on the new president of Legrand AV. If somebody wants to get a hold of you or Legrand AV, how do they do that?
The best thing to do is go to legrandav.com. That's where we provide all of our contact information. Most people, I'm on LinkedIn. People have been had some very nice comments and statements. It's been great to see the support. So always a simple place to get a hold of me is through LinkedIn, but also go to legrandav.com and you can get all the information for contacts across our brands.
All right, thank you, Steve. For us, for AVNation, go by our website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Find interviews like this and a host of others, including our 2 weekly programs, AV Week that looks at the commercial side of the AV industry, and Resi Week looks at the residential side. And you can, of course, check out our daily download. Happens every day, Monday through Friday, a 5-minute snippet of the most popular programs on our network. All that and more at avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv.